Meeting of LCCC to order, please. First order of business is we're gonna, Sean is not here this evening, so we're gonna go ahead and start with faculty staff. Nate, please.
Oh, hi. I'll stand just so it's maybe
Yes,
easier
that's
to
wonderful.
see / hear me, though I'm a pretty loud individual. Good evening, thank you, Madam Vice Chairman and members of the board. Just a quick update from Faculty Senate, things that are occurring this semester. Number one, if you remember last spring at the Taste of Pathways, we signed up faculty and staff across campus for a book club of redesigning America's community colleges. That will officially kick off here in the near future. People have been sent out the books, they're ready, so that will happen over the remainder of the fall term. Senate is sponsoring 2 Gen Ed 2.0 pathway forums. That's going to be on Friday, October 19th. There'll be a morning session that's devoted for all of campus, and then an afternoon session devoted strictly for faculty. This is going to be an opportunity for faculty on the campus to ask questions regarding the Gen Ed 2.0 philosophy statement that's going to be coming out. It's strictly about the philosophy statement. We're not talking about, this is how Gen Ed's going to look, this is the way it's going to work, these are the courses that will be approved, and so on. It's just the philosophy and to hear initial concerns, questions, things of that nature. The Wyoming Faculty Alliance, which is sort of resurrected from the dead, I understand, is going to have a meeting on Friday, October 26th in Casper. So myself and Vice President Michael Thompson will attend that on behalf of LCCC. So, yay. And then just a Senate goal for this year, one thing that we'd really like to work on is a continuous improvement plan for Faculty Senate. In the past, we haven't done, I would argue, we haven't done a whole lot of reaching out to our constituency groups, our stakeholders, faculty, administration. And so that's going to be on our docket for this academic year, is to really hone in on a continuous improvement plan in a probably 2 or 3 year cycle, and then to develop that over the course of the year and then get that going in the spring semester.
Very good. Any questions?
I do that.
Sure.
Would you describe to me the continuous improvement plan? What does that mean?
Ken Bender.
Bender.
Yes.
That answers part of it.
So it would be similar to almost like a program review, only it would be for Faculty Senate. And so for us, it's coming up with a way for us to poll or survey our constituents, so administration, other entities on campus, as well as our primary stakeholders, which are faculty, just to essentially see how we're doing. Where are our strengths, where are our weaknesses, what are faculty thinking we could be doing in a better fashion, things of that nature, and then hopefully planning that out over a series of years. So in a 2 year cycle, so for example, we would do it this spring, and then we reassess in 2 years, and then reassess in 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. That's our goal. We've never tried something like that to my knowledge, and so for me personally as president, I think we're only as effective as what our stakeholders believe and understand us to do, as well as our constituents. And so we very much like to see what people think and where we can serve them stronger.
So will you have goals at the end of that first one that in 2 years you
Ideally, yes.
Ideally.
So that may be something for the Senate representation next year, for whomever the president may be, for them to take those survey results from the spring and then create goals going forward.
Thank you.
Great idea.
Madam Chair, if I can, just one thing I want to just recognize Nate and the Senate specifically, and applaud them for actually jumping in and being a very progressive part of the Guided Pathways effort. So the Gen Ed 2.0 sessions and having Senate really facilitate not just a faculty-oriented one, but one for the campus, recognizing that all folks are involved with the general education of our students, I think is really to be commended. So thanks for the
Thank you.
Thanks.
Excellent. Next, we have a construction update. Vice President Rick Johnson.
Good evening, everybody. Madam Chair, members of the board. I'll be pretty brief, but cover everything we've got going. The crossroads is all but done. I don't know if you've been in there, but we still have some furniture that I think I told you before won't be here until second week, mid-October, somewhere in there. And it's the really cool furniture, so hopefully it's going to liven up the space. Something that has gotten done here since we last talked is the wall graphics in the conference room, the SBA area, and I think the north wall. I haven't actually, that one was going up maybe yesterday or today. But the wall graphics are fabulous. They came out they're just fantastic elements to those rooms. So here in a couple of weeks, we'll be done. Library, I don't know if you've driven around the back, but roof is going to be finished this week. Wall panels will start going up sometime next week, with the goal being to have it what they're calling dried in by mid-October-ish. Dried in meaning you could work inside without weather getting in. They're already starting what we call the renovation work on the inside, new partitions and this sort of thing in the old space, the new addition. So nothing new to report with regard to challenges or issues. We're still on schedule, we're still under budget, and things are progressing along well. Res Hall, a couple of days going on. Today we interviewed 3 contractors to be our CMAR, Construction Manager at Risk. We'll make that decision hopefully tomorrow. Of course, we can't make a decision until we go visit the SLIB tomorrow, which occurs between 8 and noon. And hopefully we walk out of there with our loan in hand, and then we'll award the bid to the contractor that's risen to the top. So Method Studio is working feverishly in the background on the design development phase of the project, and that's progressing at a very fast pace. They're anxiously awaiting getting the contractor on board, because there's one particular issue with the Res Hall that is very critical and yet unresolved, which is this going to be all steel? Is it going to be part steel and part wood, or is it going to be all wood? And with the steel tariffs and things that are happening in the wood industry, there's complications with the availability of wood framers that can do this quantity of work. And so they're hoping we get the CMA on board rapidly and get their eyes on that issue, and then we resolve what that core construction is going to be. Method believes it's going to be steel in the lower and wood framing above. But that remains to be fully worked out. But it has cost implications, so that's where we are with that. Tomorrow we'll go to the SLIB, and I'm hopeful that we're really off and running.
Rick, I'd like to make a comment on that. I think it's important for those trustees that can attend tomorrow that we be present. And I understand it's going to be at the White Auditorium, and we don't know what time our application will come before the board. But we should probably be there, I would think, shortly after 8 o'clock, if we're going to be in attendance. I know I plan to attend. I hope I can.
Where is the YDOT auditorium?
It's over, where the highway department is. Okay, it's that first building as you turn into the highway complex. It's the big building with the flags.
5300 Bishop Boulevard.
It's to the west.
And it's at 8 o'clock, Dawn?
As I understand it, talking to Rick, that our application will be out sometime between 8 and 12. Who knows?
Oh,
I
okay.
could add a little to that. It's a very big agenda. We're really second to the last,
Oh,
which would suggest that maybe we don't go on until 11:30. I don't know. But they reminded me that the governor may change up the agenda, which could, move it forward. So we're just going to be there at 8 and pack a lunch, very end until we go.
And us trustees got that hat that says LCCC is the greatest.
Perfect.
Are you serious?
About having a hat? You got an LCCC hat?
Yeah, I think that's what else you read.
Well, maybe we
It
can.
doesn't say the greatest.
Well, that's LCCC.
Is there
No, I-
anything else that you're going to report? Are there any questions for Rick? Thank you, and good luck tomorrow.
Which as well.
The Pathways update, Vice President Clark Harris, please.
Vice Chair Merrill, trustees. We've had some really good progress on the pathways. One of the things that we did is we met as the AMP committee, which is the oversight committee that's above the pathways co-chairs. It's the one that trustee Salazar is on that committee. and we did a great activity with a timeline. We put a timeline across one whole end of the room, and everybody took the major milestones that they thought they were going to have, and they put those up on the board. And then President Schaefer did a wonderful job of working with us, because there were things that may have been way over here, and it was like everybody said, no, you have to have that done earlier, because that's a priority, that we have to have that information to move forward. And so a lot of negotiation happened, and it was a fun time. I thought a couple people might have heart attacks, as we were trying to move theirs too far to the current time. And but it was a great activity, and it was one we really needed to do. Everybody had done their own timelines, and they had turned those into our facilitating team, the ones with Chad Marley and Julie Gershner and Janet Webb. I think that's right. And the three of those, they had tried to take that and put it into a timeline, and it was this huge, cumbersome thing. And so we were trying to say, what are the really important pieces? And it turned out to be a great activity. It took us probably most of 2 hours to go through that. But I think we came away with some real understanding of what the other groups, the responsibilities they had, and the challenges that they were meeting. And I think it's going to work out to be a great activity. So it's going to help us move forward, because we did move some things, some months, and it was nice, because we kept saying, don't let that be a restraint. President Schaefer said that, we'll work with the commission if that's an issue. The catalog was another one, like the timing things happen to be done for the catalog and things, but it was a really good activity.
Let me commend you on the collaboration of this team, because I think that's what LCCC is all about. It is just working together, collaborating, and coming up with good solutions. So thank you. And I think Brenda had a question.
Yeah. Mark, where did you come up with the idea for doing this?
Well, we had a meeting with Judy, Joe, and I were meeting, and we were talking about we were trying to look at the progress and this cumbersome timeline that we had, and we just decided, why don't we do this as a hands-on activity and have and just say, what are the critical things? Don't put every little thing you're going to do. And I thought that was, so we came up with it in a meeting that the three of us had.
Yeah, good idea.
And actually back on the teamwork, the co-chairs have been fabulous, working with each other, and also a lot of them have gone and attended other meetings to make sure that they understand like what Gen Ed's doing. So when we move forward on competencies, they understand that. And so I know just the other day we were having a meeting, and two of the co-chairs were like attending the Gen Ed meetings to kind of stay informed so that they could make sure that everybody's connected. And then also we're getting a really good buy-in, I think, from the charter teams. So the charter teams are the first group, like you have the co-chairs, and then you'll have a charter team that may have 10 to 12 people. And those are across from all around campus, and not just faculty, not just student services. We've pulled people from all over, and they're really doing a good job of working together to try and help us come up with creative solutions. Probably the bigger problem that I see is they keep going, oh, and we could do this and this and this, and we keep going, oh, let's come back. Because their project started like this, and they've gotten like this. We can be really proud of everybody on how well they work together.
Trustee Salazar, did you have a question?
Well, I just had a comment because I was there.
Sure.
And what I really did like, and I commend all the effort, it was totally amazing. I was mostly watching. And the color coding is based on the must-have group. So if you're paying attention to the must-have groups, I think that color coding idea was a great idea, because then it was a good visual view of what things need to happen when. And the registrar, I think, is very important in this whole process for everything. And at least that's the sense I got. But then the other sense I got was that it is doable, because at the end, it looked like you made it. So.
Very good. So will we get a snapshot of this?
Madam Chair, members of the board, first one thing, just as a reminder, Trustee Salazar is your liaison to the Guided Pathways effort as a member of the steering committee overseeing the efforts. And certainly knows a lot more and has been a great participant, observer, and listener with that. Right now, our 3 project managers are working on a comprehensive timeline. They're working with an interesting sort of interactive electronic way to do this versus having an actual, printable full timeline. It takes a little while to get used to, but as soon as that gets finalized, and it'll certainly be shared with campus, and I'd be happy to share it with you, but it will actually allow you to go in and look at different milestones on this timeline, click on them, and actually read and understand what does that specifically mean. And so if a procedure is going to be developed and a policy and launched, where does that happen? What does it entail? If coursework is going to be developed or changed, what does that entail? And so it'll be an interactive piece, but as soon as that's finalized, we'll certainly get it out to you.
Great, thanks.
Now, a question on that, is that gonna be under my LCCC or not?
Madam Chair, Trustee Stella, I don't know at this point. It's possible that it's probable that we will put it in the Pathways portal that you access through the LCCC. I don't think we've gotten that far yet.
There's a lot
Any
of
other
good
questions?
information.
Yes.
Excellent job. Thanks, Clark. Excuse me, I have been errant in not introducing Ed Avery to all of the folks here. He is a candidate for the Board of Trustee in our election. So if you'd like to just stand up and let everyone see you, Ed. Make a short statement.
Make a fool out of myself.
No, just a short statement.
The only thing I noticed is it was nice to watch Mr. Harris, a former assistant professor, how good he is.
Very good.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Sure,
So
thank you
it's
for coming.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lisa Trimble. She is going to talk about the mill levy campaign update.
Vice Chair Merrill, Board of Trustees. So included in your packet this evening is some information, is that right? Because everybody has a copy. And I'm happy to give you a little bit of an explanation briefly about what you're seeing in front of you. So just as a reminder, we have chosen to do somewhat of a non-traditional campaign in regards to how we're trying to reach individuals and promote to the mill levy. And so our push has really been through social media and through individual contacts and not through your standard traditional means of marketing and communication when it comes to campaign activities. So we are not planning to do yard signs, and we are not planning to do traditional neighborhood canvassing. We have some other ideas about how we can reach out into some neighborhoods, and Don's been great about giving us some feedback on those ideas as well. But we are really focusing heavily on getting the message out to a targeted group of individuals as well as our entire community. But we know that the population that's most likely to vote for this particular initiative is probably between the ages of 30 and 50, 55. And right now, social media seems to be the best way to really target and engage that population base. So what you have in front of you is just sort of a snapshot through yesterday afternoon that West Edge collected, put together, and I'm happy to give you just a little bit of an overview and happy to answer questions. So on the side at the top of your page, it says Transform LCCC Snapshot. It has the blue graphs on the left-hand side and orange graph in the upper right-hand corner. So the two on the left-hand side that you see, the first one shows the total. These are related to the Foundation's Facebook page, not the college. So specifically speaks to the Foundation's Facebook page. So these are trends of likes. So as of yesterday, we had 916 likes. Now that could have been from the very first day that we started up and through then this report was pulled. But you'll see starting about September 18th, how that bar continues to increase. The line below, the graph below is kind of a zoomed in view of that trend of the likes growing. So you can see the dates associated with where there's a little bit more activity. And we could go back and tell you what specifically were posted on those days that maybe drove some of the activity on that account. As you look at October 2nd, it's projecting what's going to happen. We're not sure that that's exactly accurate. There were 2 posts that happened right about that time. One was campaign related, and the other one was the Sean Dewey Memorial Rodeo, and that got a bunch of traction and activity. So this is comprehensive of all activity, not necessarily only just campaign activity. But lately, since mid-September, really the majority of our activity has been campaign related. Post reach in the upper right-hand corner. The lighter color are organic posts. So those are individuals that had already liked the page, people that were already kind of folded into our social media environment. The darker color orange are those that we boosted and picked it up because we boosted that post and it had a broader reach and a broader appeal. The numbers below are just people reached and post engagement for the 3 posts that have happened over the past 3 to 3.5 weeks. Where it says people reached, those are individual people. So whether they saw it more than once or not, it counts individual people that have that show up in their feed or show up in their social media activity. Engagement means they liked it, they commented, they shared it, or something along those lines. At the very bottom, and it's a little hard to see, your copies are pretty good, but the variation, so the lighter gray behind the blue boxes indicate people that had already liked our page. The darker color are people that have been part of the boosted activity. So our 18 to 24 has outperformed what our normal population is for that particular age demographic that would have seen social media activity from the foundation's page. We are outperforming our standard level of activity in men more than women, and definitely in the 18 to 24 demographic seems to be where we've had a lot of activity. On the other side, in the upper left-hand corner, it's sort of a heat map, a little bit of activity. You can see the darker colors indicate where the majority of the activity is happening, whereas the lighter colors, as you get lighter, indicate that there's less activity in those areas. So you can see where most of those, it's based on essentially cell phone towers or where they can draw that data from. So you may live in Eastern Laramie County, but you accessed or saw it while you were in Cheyenne, and it's going to put you in Cheyenne. So that's a little hard to gauge exactly. The graph on the top that has the blue, red, yellow, and green just gives you an idea of the number of clicks, the number of impressions. The click-through rate is 0.28%, which is good. It's not great and fabulous, but it's good. They like to see it a little closer to 4, but they don't get concerned unless it's under 2.2. So they're happy with it, but we'll continue to look for it. The cost per click is about $1.75, and anything under $2 is good in the Laramie County market. So they're really pleased with those numbers as well. Next, you see the Transform LCCC. So this is specifically, sorry, I should have clarified. This side is specifically related to Google Ads. So this is not Facebook, this is just Google Ads. So number of people that have, or number of impressions that we've had for the variety, there's about 12 ads that run on social, that run while you're out on social media or shopping or doing whatever you're doing online. So impressions from those 12 ads is a little over 360,000 impressions. So that means it showed up that many times. Clicks are a little over 1,000, and then it gives you the click-through rate. Videos, videos are intended to be a little bit more awareness-driven, not as much. Most people don't watch an entire video that interrupts whatever they're doing. And you have to, in order to have it count as a watch, it has to hit a certain time span, and it's not always the 3 to 4 seconds before you can skip the ad. So sometimes those are a little bit hard to gauge. We do have frequency caps on those, so individuals will not see them more than a specific amount of time in a specific day or a specific week. So they do have those so that they are spreading around and people just aren't inundated. And their parameters are set so that nobody under the age of 18 technically should be receiving them, reaching the voting population base. The following 2 at the bottom are just comprehensive of activity. So our 24 to 34 is our highest performing age demographic, our highest activity level. Females are slightly outperforming males. which those are a little bit closer than what they maybe had expected them to be. So that's kind of an interesting demographic piece as well. When we talked about impressions today, it's kind of creepy all the data that they can get on you when you're using your mobile devices. But I asked and we talked a little bit about where people are viewing. And so 88% of our activity is happening on mobile devices, 6.7% is happening on tablets, and 5.2% is happening on computers. So we are reaching the majority of people while they are out and about. And if you scatter plot, which they do, the highest volume times of day for activity and when there is the most activity, 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. Noon are pretty close. 10 p.m. has the highest level of volume and the highest level of activity is when we get the most. So so it's pretty, I mean, it's interesting information and data. We've recently ordered about 4,000 stickers that we will get to you. It should be in by Friday at the latest. And so we can get those out if you know people or you want to distribute them. And then in regards to kind of leading towards a little bit of traditional advertising, we are going to be starting running billboard ads. So you'll see them on all 8 Lamar billboards around town. That does not include the billboard that's out off I-25. That's a separate company that runs that one. But the 8 that are around town, there will be 2 different ads that will run from October 10th through November 6th. So that will start running for those individuals that would like a little bit more of the traditional side of marketing. Dr. Schaefer and some of our theater students did a great job and talked with Channel 5 on Monday, and we'll continue to work with the Wyoming Tribune Eagle to see if they also would be interested in putting a story in that talks more comprehensively about the project and specifically the matching. Don mentioned when we talked the other day that seems to be a point that really resonates with people, is that we have these matching funds and we will lose them if we don't. And so wanting to make sure that we take the opportunity to explain why we're going out at this time. Social media has been active. I do not encourage you to read all the comments, but just so you know, we are responding to those that we really feel like there's merit in responding. And some people have had concerns that we aren't responding enough, but we also want to keep the conversation on the project. And so those individuals that have chosen to draw other things into the conversation, we have or are trying to reach out to them individually to see if they would like to have a further conversation, but we're not going to engage and just create a firestorm of activity that's going to take away from the true intent of the information. So we are trying to do that as frequently as possible without stirring the pot a little bit more, as we say. So I noticed today there's some posts on the Channel 5 posts, that their Facebook page following our story, that have some really good questions. So we'll make sure we respond to those and answer those questions. We are planning, and we will get some information. I was just able to confirm this afternoon that we're going to do an open house for the fine arts area. So people that would like to come out and tour the facility and actually see it. We'll work with Dean Powell, and there's some rehearsals taking place that evening, and we'll definitely let the faculty know. We have some students from the fine arts area that are really interested in being involved, and so we will ask them to attend as well. We're looking at October 17th. It's a Wednesday, likely from 5 to 7 p.m., but I'll get you more information once I nail down the 100% specifics on that tomorrow. What I would ask of you is that you try to identify maybe 2 or 3 people that you could invite and encourage to come and to see the facility and to tour, especially those individuals that may have questions or concerns, not understand why this is something that we're asking for right now. I think that would be a really great opportunity for them to see the actual facility and see what our space needs are for our students. So we'll get you more information so that you can share that information out to those that might be want to come. But if you could help drive some attendance, that would be great. The other thing that I have for you is some information that you're welcome to take with you. So we have a quick fact sheet that you can take and distribute to individuals that you think might have some questions. It really answers a lot of the most frequently asked questions that we get on the campaign. So please feel free to take that or take some copies with you. This one has a call to action. We have one that is generic that we've been using on campus. This one asks you to take part in the voting process. If you would like one that is generic and just has quick facts, I can get you a copy of that. I didn't bring those with me tonight. And then we also have posters. They're smaller in nature, but we found that a lot of places in town don't have a ton of room to post information, so that's intentional that they've been a little bit smaller. If everybody, or if you are interested in taking some with you that you know of businesses or places around town, community spaces where this could be posted, we would be happy to send those with you as well. It's also a good information piece. Dawn said some people really like this one better because it has a little bit more information. This one really is driving them to the website. The website is a great source of information. And if you have people that want to know more, please send them to transformlccc.com and encourage them, if they do want to support the project, to put their name and email address in at the bottom. And they will receive some very targeted and specific email messages because they have done that. If they don't do that, they won't get those messages. So we would encourage you to have people, that can be a very specific call to actions to have them put that information on the website. So questions that you might have?
Madam Chair. Lisa, I noticed on the post today about the letter to the editor. It was on the foundation's Facebook page today. That if you don't get the link is shut down, so you can only read it, part of it, you know. So I'm wondering if there's any way you can get the newspaper to open that up. Because if you click on that link and go to the Cheyenne Papers website, you can only read the first paragraph or so of that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to reach out to Brian and see if that's something that can be an open.
I tried to
open read instead of
post it in there, but it didn't work. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Lisa, one of the things that I think is important for us is to go out and identify our supporters. And once we've identified them, that they are known as our supporters. So this little sticker that you have, I think that might be a means in which we can then identify our supporters. So we're talking to someone, and you ask them, are you a supporter of LCCC? Yes. Okay, good. You got one of these little things. I guess I gotta be careful as to who.
Very good.
Yes,
Any other questions?
Thank you, Lisa. Excellent report. And we have the president's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I will be brief, just a couple of things. First of all, I want to congratulate Wingspan and the trustee candidates on a well-designed, well-developed forum for the first, I think, of the series in partnership with the League of Women Voters. So to the candidates, Mr. Avery, of course, Trustee Little and Trustee Merrill, I appreciate you being involved. People always sort of approach me a little bit timidly when they talk about, who's running for election and what about trustee candidates and all those things. And I tell them the same thing over and over. When people express interest in this college because they have a sincere interest in the good work we're doing, that makes me feel good about the direction we're headed. And so I actually appreciate and embrace the dialogue that happened at events such as last night. But I just wanted to congratulate the Wingspan and, of course, thank the candidates who participated in the forum and the trustees who observed from the audience as well to do that. The only other thing I have on my agenda is just a quick update. So most of you recall the governor's latest executive order, which established a higher education attainment council for the state of Wyoming. This is directly in response to an executive order earlier from the year in which the state actually formally adopted a higher education attainment goal, 67% of our adult population with a post-secondary credential by 2025 and 82% by 2045. As a means to get there, and really as a result of the work we did in Colorado a few months ago as part of a Lumina Foundation WICHE grant, we recognized that there is a need for a concerted focused and really statewide plan for how we're going to accomplish higher education attainment. That led to the governor's executive order creating the Higher Ed Attainment Council. I believe that council will be named in terms of the membership here by the end of the week. We had our first planning meeting yesterday with Dr. Nichols, Dr. Caldwell of the Community College Commission, folks supporting us through the Lumina Foundation, Dr. Stephanie Hickswa, and started to set the stage for how this work was gonna play out. What I just want you to be aware of is a couple of things. First, we're gonna approach this from a statewide strategic planning perspective, which means we will start with environmental scanning, benchmark data, really looking at how we compare to the states that we're trying to emulate, be similar to. Then we'll be going out across the state holding basically information sessions. I can almost guarantee you there will be one in Cheyenne. There's a good chance it'll be on the LCCC campus. When those are announced, I will be encouraging you and all of the campus to truly show up and participate and get individuals from the community, from your social circles to participate, because we really want to engage the entire state, in part on the messaging of why higher education attainment is important, but also really to solicit feedback to help inform this plan. From there, we'll go into a traditional planning process and actually have to produce quarterly reports to NDOW, the governor, the Joint Education Committee, and I'm missing somebody else in there, the trustees, and then the Community College Commission. The end goal is that the council will develop a 5-year and 10-year statewide plan for how we're going to meet those higher education attainment. So I just share that because that work is now underway. You're going to start hearing about it and certainly have the opportunity to engage in it when it hits here in Southeast Wyoming. So, Madam Chair, unless there's questions, that really is my report.
Question?
I have a question. It's not an area that you covered, but the college commission is going to be meeting later this month, at which time they're going to hopefully come up with a tuition policy. Do you have anything, any advanced thoughts as to where that might be headed, or is it too premature?
Madam Chair, Trustee Erickson, I don't know where they will get. Their session that Vice President Johnson and Hay actually participated in I think that was last week, when we had the 50th anniversary pieces going on. It actually was quite productive. We participated, as you know, by phone or by video a little bit. I have not seen what they will consider, but my understanding is they will consider two things: a tuition policy to guide how they set tuition, and then also whether or not they are going to take action to address the removal of the tuition flat spot. So as you recall, this year they actually voted to delay the removal of the flat spot. It was supposed to come off this fall, in which they would charge for every credit. They delayed that for a year to go through this work. If they do nothing, it will go off for next year, effectively resulting in a tuition increase for the majority of our students, not all of them. They have to address that as well. My impression, Rick stepped out, I put him on, but Trustee Erickson, you might have said, my impression is there will be some type of tuition cap or flat spot or something that they will keep in place. I do not believe that they will just allow it to be removed with that. What I don't know is whether that will remain at 12 credits or where I think the group was moving to actually setting it at 15 credits to really support and promote the concept of 15 to finish, that students truly have to take at least 15 credits per semester to finish a 60 credit associate degree in 2 years. So my guess is that's maybe where they will end up. Whether or not they tie their policy to inflationary indices such as CPI or other types of things, I'm not sure. What I will say is this was really the first indication, the first time I saw truly an evidence-based, objective, engaged dialogue moving us to more of a tuition policy. So overall, I was very pleased with the outcome of that workshop.
I attended, Madam Chair, that workshop via the teleconference that Dr. Joe mentioned. And I got the same impression that the workshop group, which included the commissioners plus other individuals from around the colleges, that they were kind of pushing for this flat spot to be 15. Is Judy here?
No, she's
Not here. Okay.
15 makes sense.
Any more discussion? Anything else, Dr. Schaefer?
I don't think so, Madam Chair.
Okay, then we'll move to approval items. We need to select a voting delegate for the convention and an alternate. I believe that Brenda has agreed to be the voting delegate. And do we have someone who would like to be the alternate? I think Jeff, would you like to do that?
Sure, I'll be the alternate.
Okay, could I have a motion?
I make a motion that for the voting delegate and alternate to the ACCT Annual Leadership Congress, that the delegate be Trustee Little and the alternate be Trustee Ketchum.
I'll second the motion.
Wendy seconded the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. The motion passes. Now we have a very exciting thing on our agenda here, the emeritus designation, and Dr. Schaefer would like to comment on this.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the board, I actually feel a little bit bad that we don't have more time to really celebrate what's before us. But let me give a little background. Those of you that served on the board when Trustee Ed Mosier was the chair, he was instrumental at the time of developing and actually establishing an emeritus process at LCCC, one in which we could recognize individuals who had retired and left, that had left a lasting mark on the campus because of their legacy of work by designating emeritus status, emeritus trustees, or a faculty emeritus with that. We looked at this, and that procedure and policy was actually established almost 2 years ago. It's hard to believe that. Part of that procedure requires that a nomination for emeritus status comes within 2 years after a person's retirement, either from the board or from their employ of the college. There is a caveat in the procedure that individuals who retired prior to that procedure and policy's approval could be nominated, but had to be done so within 2 years of the approval of that policy. That policy was approved in November of 2016. And so we have till November of 2018 for any individuals that have retired. So that's part of me just clarifying the background, but also part of me putting hint out to the campus that if there are individuals that we believe are worthy of emeritus status, either as former trustees or former faculty or executives, we've got a month to get them nominated underneath the procedure. And I would bet that there are a handful of folks that are probably worthy of that, to put that out there. One of those nominations came to Vice President Harris and my attention here really not that long ago. Jacob Sherlock, who is the current program director for our mass media multimedia program, has nominated Raj Shalisky for faculty emeritus status. You have that nomination form in here, as well as a brief description of the rationale and justification for this. And I have no doubt that we could probably spend the next 3 hours, all of us collectively contributing reasons why Raj should be awarded this designation. And as I say, I feel bad that she's actually not here so we could celebrate this as well as other individuals. But in the essence of time, I agreed to fast track this to the Board of Trustees and then hope that we have an opportunity to celebrate this with them. So, Madam Chair, members of the board, my recommendation to you is that you do bestow the status of faculty emeritus on Raj Shalisky for her tenure and service to the college and our community. That's my recommendation. It's now in your lap.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Don.
And then I'd like to comment.
Can I second the motion?
Brenda seconds the motion.
All right, I'd like to comment. If you turn the page over and look at the section that says completed by Human Resources, hired on August 2, 1976, retired on May 5.
I don't think that they can hear you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. That's unusual.
It's a big word.
Okay. turn the page around, in the backside, it says to be completed by Human Resources. The hire date, August 2nd, 1976, retirement date, May 18th, 2015. Nearly 40 years. The historian of this college is Rosalind Schliske. And this is a definite honor that we're bestowing upon her. She certainly deserves it.
Thank you, John. Are there any other comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
So may I ask a question now? I'll follow up to what Joe said. So Joe, now that we have that Roz has this designation, is there an opportunity to have a reception or anything like that for her, or how does that work?
Madam Chair, Trustee Little, I'd be happy, actually, I was gonna say, I'd be happy to have Dr. Harris relay this back to Dean Powell and Mr. Sherlock to see if there is something they would like to do. I think it would certainly be worthwhile having some type of way to publicly recognize her for the award of this designation. But I'll kick that back to them and let them determine what is the best way to do that.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I know most of us trustees would probably, most if not all of us would like to attend that. So, good.
Thank you, Brenda. Next on the agenda is the board self-evaluation. I will just make a few comments to start. And the first section, it looks like we pretty much think each other's pretty darn wonderful around here and we get along. And I think we're a great board. Honestly, I think, and all the people sitting around this table at this time have helped us be a good board because they bring us good information and help us do our job. Your job helps us do our job.
Madam
So-
Chair, may I add to that?
You certainly may.
You know, it's one thing to say that we do a good job. The other is to get some evidence that as a
Can you
group,
hear?
that we as a group do a good job. I'm an old coherent analysis type cohort analysis type guy, and certain words that pop out in our responses is team, respectful, and listening. I think those are three elements that demonstrate that we're doing a fairly good job as a group.
Thank you. Very good observation. Any other comments on this first section? What could we do better? I'd like some comments about that, please.
If I can encourage our fellow trustees to maybe comment on their own comment. I know I'd be happy to do it on mine, but I'd just rather wait and see if some others would like to.
Why don't you take this?
You want me
Start
to
us out,
start?
please.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, mine happens to be the one that says the information flow is good overall, and that I'm kind of on this issue. I'm kind of a voice in the wilderness because I've been encouraging now ever since we stopped having our Y meetings in a month to one meeting a month. And I know I'm probably the only one that believes that we would be more knowledgeable, more in tune to what's going on at the campus, and more prepared for our work if we were to return to the 2 meetings a month. So I've said my piece.
Thank you.
And moving on.
No, Don, I was with you, and I never wanted to go to one meeting a month, and I kind of scratched a little bit about it. I mean, I think it's going okay. It's going better than I thought it would. So is your concern more about not getting the information that you think we need, or?
No, as I indicated here, I think the information flow overall is good. I just believe that we have so much going on in this institution, and you got to keep on top of it to be engaged and away for a whole month unless you have an opportunity to be on one of the committees. You're not really into it all the time. So I think 2 meetings a month would help us in our overall knowledge and preparation for making the decisions that we have to make about this facility. The other thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is we seem to be waffling as to when we have our dates for the meetings. And I think it would be good if we could get back to a specific time, even if it continues to be one, a specific time in the month that we can plan. Because I know I don't like to miss a meeting. I don't think anyone of us likes to miss a meeting. And when it gets juggled around, it's hard to make long-term plans for whatever we might be wanting to do, if we're going to take a vacation or go on a business trip.
Can I,
Sure.
Madam
We're having a
Chairman, can
discussion, so.
After reading all of these comments, Don, and hearing what you have to say, I don't know how feasible this is, but I want to throw it out there. I know one concern we had about having 2 meetings a month is the president's cabinet that needs to be here and participate. And 2 times a month is a lot for that. What do you all, my fellow trustees and Joe, think about? Could we have 2 meetings a month, but have one of those meetings where the staff does not have to attend? And Joe, we probably always need you to attend. Maybe not, but you know, we need. But I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be black and white, where everybody has to be here. But maybe if we had meetings that had a little bit different form, and I know we used to do those study sessions and then had a business meeting, but they all kind of turned into business meetings. But you know, we see things in our comments such as an opportunity for reorientation and coordinating different areas, which was mine. Improve on being prepared. I mean, I get the sense from all of these that one of the things we would like to do as trustees is maybe just have more time to coordinate amongst each other and to talk to each other, and what we want to do, and what one of them had something about our individual agendas as trustees. Maybe what Don is saying, one of those meetings could be just us as trustees having that kind of a discussion.
Sure.
I was on the same lines as that, but I was thinking
Okay.
possibly like a luncheon or something.
Oh, yeah,
How And
yeah.
if we need somebody, they would be on campus,
Mm-hmm.
and they could come for that portion of it if we had that one luncheon out of the month. And I don't know if that would be.
Yeah, that's an idea too. I like that idea too.
Just like an informal luncheon where
Right,
we
and if
meet
we-
and.
And if we needed somebody, they would be here at work, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, but they don't necessarily
They
have
don't
to be at
here,
the
but
meeting.
if there's something we need to discuss with, say, Rick, after a couple months will be gone in. But if there's something we need to talk to him, then he would be here for that luncheon.
You know, as Madam Chair, as you know, I've been a proponent of professional development
Yeah.
for ourselves
Yeah.
from the get-go, from looking at our orientation, and I think it's been interesting, someone said some more reorientation. In other words, updating what we have had in the past. I think this discussion is super, but we need, I think, is to look at the ways in which we can enhance our group professional development and our individual professional development. And so one of the individuals indicated, one of our fellow trustees indicated that let's have a frank discussion about what we as a person has as a goal or objectives for our participation as a trustee.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great retreat item. It really is, where we sit down and we're really looking at refreshing ourselves. Why are we here? What is it we want to do? So I would think something like that could go to a retreat. So keep talking. I think it's great to hear this discussion, in my opinion, for our overall groupness and professional development.
Madam Chairman, I'm actually the reorientation person. And one of the things I really appreciated right after being elected was that we had an orientation session where we went around the college and met with the vice presidents, and I don't even remember who all we met with, and Dawn joined us in that. And that was something that I was hoping once we have the next election, you would do again, and that we could possibly participate in that. That is one way that we can get an update on those sorts of things, what's going on at the college.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Trustee Soto, we know we will have at least one new trustee,
Right.
and that will continue to be the orientation process that we will do. And certainly, I think that more than welcome for you to take along and go and be part of those. Always being cognizant of the fact that, when so many of you get together, that requires certain notification and things like that. But by all means, we hope that you would have the opportunity to participate in those meetings, and that I like that reorientation.
Very good. I thought that was a good comment.
Mine is dealing with faculty. I don't know how to, not the upper level faculty that upper executive management we deal with. I don't think we ever hear from the faculty or anything like that in our meetings or anything else to the extent where, and I don't know other than just from people in the community always tell me certain things. So-and-so doesn't like their job out there, but they never tell me that, so I don't know. You know what I'm saying? There's certain aspects of things that you hear it, but you don't ever hear it. So if you have a one-on-one or a group setting of people where we can all just hash out, if they have an issue, they can tell us. If they're having a great time, great, I hope they are, which I think they are. But we don't hear from that sector of the college.
And so was yours the last one?
The third one.
Third one.
Oh, the third one down? Okay. I have a comment on that. I know as a trustee that I have learned that I can listen all day to someone who has a problem, but there's only one person here who can solve that problem. And it's not us. But I know that when I came on board as a trustee, I had learned pretty quickly that I can tell people that I will listen to anything they want to say to me, but that they have to go through the process of.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not
And I
saying,
know you,
I'm just saying, I hear it through the community. I don't hear it
Sure.
directly. So
oh,
how can you make a change even if if there is a portion going wrong, we can make a change in the sense of how things are being run. So I'm just saying, I don't hear it, and I want to make sure that what we're being presented with statistics and everything else, so that I can go out and tell so-and-so, hey, that's not true. This is what the faculty is saying. This is what they're actually, I don't hear that they are doing great or bad or indifferent. I see it in statistics, I see it in everything else, but I don't actually have whatever Joe adjunct instructor coming to me going, I love it here, or I hate it here, or you know what I'm saying? You need something, I need something that I can back up and go, well, you're completely off your rocker. Tell that guy he's wrong because this is not what's happening. I mean, that's just.
We had a discussion for a while about having some meetings, like in the student center or something, where students could come and meet with us and talk to us. We discussed that at one point.
I think we do have that town hall type of
Yes.
meeting, but we do not talk during that meeting. We
Right.
just attend and they talk and they tell us. It's quite interesting.
Were we talking about doing one of those? I can't remember, anyway.
Well, Trustee Little, we haven't had one of those town halls with the faculty or the students for
No.
quite some time.
We
Students
decided
were there.
not to.
Did we have one with the students a few months back?
For Madam Chair, for Trustee Ketchum, for different purposes. The one that student government and Phi Theta Kappa coordinate is really intended for students to inform me and the college. You've certainly been welcome to do that. Historically, and I find myself going back, it must be I'm an old timer here when I can go back. and tell
Why are you looking at me?
history. Just looking to my right. More from the historian, not the old time.
Thanks for the clarification.
Shoot her foot and mouth, right? Historically, so for those of you that recall the days when we transitioned from a governance model that was called policy governance, I won't bore you with what that looks like, how it works. But policy governance at its essence is to really solidify the board's role as a governing body and the fact that they have one employee and all that good stuff. We have some history here where that was half implemented and it created a pretty significant separation for the trustees from the college. In fact, I think there was a clear impression that the trustees should not be engaged. And so when I started working with, I know some of the trustees, Trustee Merrill and Trustee Little, in fact, Brenda, we kind of worked on this. We developed your current governance model. One of the things we wanted to do is flip that culture and make sure people understood that we expect and want trustees to be visible and engaged on campus. Certainly they understand their role. They can listen, they can, help redirect or do whatever. They're not going to solve people and they don't speak for themselves, but make it okay for you to be on campus. To help make that shift, what we started doing was having one dinner per year where you would have dinner with these different groups. You would have dinner with the group of students, you would have dinner with the classified staff, you would have dinner with the faculty, you'd have dinner with the professional staff for exactly the purpose that you were referring to. We went through a pretty tenuous patch there when we changed a lot of our human resource policies and procedures. And some of you remember this probably painfully so. That was happening at a time when you had a scheduled meeting with the faculty and it was not a pleasant experience for the trustees that were involved, so much so that it stopped right there. And trustees said, no, we just won't do that. I would suggest that times have probably changed. And if you're interested in doing that again, I think what you're talking about is how do we have informal opportunity to interact with these people? That was the intent of those dinners. And so all it was is you take a dinner and you would meet. We'd ask the faculty senate to get the word out to faculty, let us know how many people want to come. Staff senate to do the same, SGA. It's an opportunity. And I think that would get at the heart of what you're after in a very informal, interactive way. I know it would get at some of the things that I think Trustee Salazar said. How do people know who we are and how do we know who they are? And we are more than happy to schedule those again, but we stopped them really at the direction of the board after that one experience.
I understand that portion, but yeah, I think we are.
So would you like to do that?
Yeah, Jess,
Should
does
we
that
put that
kind
on
of
the-
address what you're thinking?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds great.
I'd like to do it too.
We could start again.
Bob, does that sort of address what you're thinking? Okay.
Okay. It was pleasant in some ways, but in some ways it was not pleasant. So-
Well, we're elected. We gotta take the bad with the good. I mean, that's part of being in an elected office.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But let me just tell you that one of the most pleasurable things that I do out of this college is when I come out to any kind of event and then I walk the halls and I might see someone that I met here in a meeting and I might drop into their office and say, do you have a few minutes to talk? And that is the perfect way to get to know people out here on a different level. And those people that can come during the day, we have a little bit better opportunity to do that. But I think this dinner meeting would be great. Thank you for bringing that up.
I echo what Carol was talking about. So I purposely sometimes just come and get lost on campus, and I'll ask somebody directions, have an opportunity to have a conversation with them and ask them about themselves. And later on, they'll see me and say, I know you. In fact, one let me in the other day for the 50th anniversary when I was trying to open the gate, and they said, oh, will open that for you. And let me walk through. And it's kind of nice to just have some interaction with them. And maybe because I'm on the different committees, I think I see a lot more of the people from all ends of the college. And I enjoy it. I really enjoy talking and seeing and interacting with them.
And I think what you're saying is something that I feel deeply, and that is that we now have an LCCC family because we're getting to know more and more people out here who we know by name. And I really enjoy that.
So if we do like the dinner meetings that we're talking about, which I think is a wonderful idea, I want to go back to Dawn's suggestion, your suggestion about going back to 2 meetings a month. Could we have one of those dinner meetings be that second meeting of the month?
I think so.
And then the staff, the cabinet doesn't necessarily have to be here. It'd probably be good for Joe to be here in case something comes up and we need to ask him a question. You know, I mean, don't you think that would be good? Would you like to be here, Joe?
Madam Chair, Trustee Little, so there's a wonderful president. He's president of Jackson College in Michigan. His name's Dan Phelan, and he has what's called the Phelan Five. And they're basically principles that he suggests that presidents operate under. One of those principles is where your trustees gather, there you shall be.
Yeah. I agree with that. You don't want us to get out of line, sir.
I've taken that to heart, so I can all but guarantee if you meet, certainly I will be there. You know, and I'll predicate my comments. I work at the pleasure of the board. If the board wants to meet 6 times a month, no ideas.
Well, that's a start.
We work at the pleasure of the board, but I will say even very simple gatherings, as simple as they are, impact my office considerably and impact Vicky considerably. We still have to notice it. We still have to go through the process. Generally, those grow into, oh, can we have so-and-so come and things like that. I share that just because one of the things we really struggled with when we were 2 meetings a month was going through the formal agenda setting, notification process, doing all the pieces together. If there's purpose and reason, and if it is, like I say, the desire of the board, we will be here to comply. But what I've noticed is even simple gatherings do have an impact on staff time. And so, you know, I would just ask you to make sure that those gatherings are truly important to your role and something you want to do. And if that's the case, we're here to serve and help.
Could we maybe have one month every quarter where we have that extra meeting? Or, I mean, that's an idea.
That's a
Also,
start.
I think we do with our retreats as it is. I mean, that's pretty much our extra meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that's what Chairman Barker was moving at, and we've held one of those. This is another one of those things, though, where you have to tell us then when you want to meet and what you want those topics to be. If you meet and you say, what should we do? You know what you're going to get from me, things that help move us, keep us going in a direction. But if there are truly things that you feel are important to your own professional development, to your own teamwork and team building, or to address things that are on your mind, we really need to have you drive that, you know, likely through the chairman. But there again, so if you tell us, we can schedule those. And so we're ready to schedule the next one of those whenever we have a purpose of the meeting to meet.
Imagine that'll be the orientation site for after the election.
Maybe that's when we start making a decision about this, because some of us could still be on this board and some of us not, and you know, we'll for sure have one more new person. So maybe that's with when the new board comes on, maybe it's a time for us to have that kind of retreat and talk about when we want to meet and how often we want to meet.
Mhm.
Do you think that's a good idea,
I do.
Don?
Yeah, and
You're
also,
still gonna be here for 2
you know, yeah, you're right, you're stuck with me for at least 2 more years. But, you know, I hope we don't lose sight of our work study sessions, because those are extraordinarily important to keep us informed of what's going on in various components of the college. Every one of those sessions are just top notch. And then, I don't know if this is a sort of an amen to what we've been talking about, but just listening to our conversation and some of the humor and some of the laughter, we have fun. This is a fun group. We like coming together and meeting with each other. We don't come here and say, oh God, I gotta be here again. You know, I mean, this is really a fun group. And when I say a fun group, it's also those who are participants from other areas of college, such as our VPs and our dear attorney. And everybody else, right? And once in a while, we'll have guests. Good to have you.
Well, thank you, Don. I think we do have a retreat planned in January. That's usually our retreat time. So we'll have our evaluation, our orientation in December, and then we'll have a retreat in January. And I think we can iron this out and maybe have a meeting with one of those groups in the spring, late winter, spring. So we'll bring that up and look at a meeting plan for that. Okay. And last item here is state 2 major challenges facing the college.
Somebody gonna think that we have 2 major challenges. It's only 7 people.
Good observation.
I did not participate.
But we got 8 responses.
Yeah, trustee Cato, I believe.
Okay.
Butch, would you like to start us out?
On the topic we were just talking about, or whatever else?
On the new topic of 2 major challenges.
Okay.
If you are not ready, then
The I selected enrollment and student success completion. That's what I put down on my comments, and I just feel like enrollment is one of our important programs, activities to work on as trustees, whatever we can do as trustees to move that along and be active in that if we can. And I know our student success and completion has grown, and I'm sure we can also keep pushing that a little bit as well. So those are the 2 items that I put down.
thank you. Anyone else?
I guess I'll go since I didn't go last time actually, but it's tied to what I said on here. It's tied to what I said in the previous one. Mine was one that had the numbers 1 and 2. Okay, discovering the correct mix of course and program offerings, and then continue creative awareness and value college provides.
Can you hear him, Vicki?
Okay. Okay, so what I'm thinking as I say that is looking at the strategic view, and it ties to what Luke just said, that for enrollment, it's not just enrollment, it's also what are the things that can lead to a change in the enrollment. Well, from my perspective, that is making sure you offer what is needed. And then we have a product here. So the product has to be what somebody wants to buy and what they can get value from when they eventually get employment. And then thinking of the attainment goal, the kind of things that the governor has promoted, those things can move beyond our sacred cow of coal. And we need to kind of think about some of those things that can happen here. And I have my hot buttons as far as things. I'd love that item of we understand as well as the strengths of each board member and have candid conversations about where we think things should go. Because I don't think I've ever stated what I think I would be most interested in. And most know that I'm a technology guy, so it probably has an orientation toward that. And but I'd like it to be facts-based. So
I thought it'd be the theater, Bob. I'm so disappointed.
Technology in the theater is very interesting. So
Lights and sound.
yes, absolutely. So that's why I think we need to get ahead of the game and look at a strategic view. But it means there's some tactical things that need to start changing now in order to have that strategic view be even possible. And that some of those norms of styles and established conventions that we have here in the college then might be roadblocks. And I always say, don't let roadblocks be roadblocks.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else?
In regard to, the enrollment and your comments on that, I'm the first one on there says implementation of the guided pathways. I am so impressed with that effort and how the administration is moving forward on that. And I think it's going to be not only the implementation, I'll go one step farther, the sustainability of what comes forward, that it continues and that it continues to grow and it gets better and it gets better. And that then will speak to your completion and success concerns as well. I think that will also bring us more enrollment. When it comes to the other item I had there is the financing of employee compensation plan. As you know, that's one of the areas of interest of mine, and that is the overall fiscal work of this facility. And Dr. Joe sent out a letter to the governor for the presidents of this state, presidents of colleges, asking that the governor look very heartily into a increase in funding for employees at the colleges and indeed the employees throughout the state government. And I think that's an important issue, and I hope that the governor will respond to that. But for us as a college, to finance the various phases coming up with the compensation plan, which we have committed to do, means we're going to have to make some tough decisions down the road, I believe. Because if we get the slip to give us the application for the residence hall, we've got some dollars that we're going to have to pay up front almost, without getting any revenue flow. So we're going to have to tap our fund reserves. This is, I think, going to be a challenge for us to get into phases 2A, is it, or 2B, whichever one it is, and then 3. Right. So that's why I identified those two.
Thank you, Don.
Madam Chair. I did think more past this, but it's how NDOW and new administration is going to affect us. Because I honestly don't know where each candidate stands on junior colleges. Said anything to the contrary. So I don't know, and I'm not sure if the new administration wants to carry through with NDOW. It's really up in the air.
I think they have commented on that.
Maybe commented, but we don't know what they'll do once they're elected.
I think they've both commented that they support the NDOW and the findings of NDOW.
But they've said not fully support, they want to tweak it. So I don't know that.
Tweak it in
I don't think we know
by
what any of it means.
just, you mean tweak it in terms of changing the money amounts?
No, they want to take a harder look at it and see what it's actually doing.
Well, that's a legitimate ask.
And I understand, but that could tie things up. Who knows what.
You are delegate to NDOW, aren't you something? Didn't we vote on somebody to be on part of an NDOW team?
That's go ahead.
Forward Greater Cheyenne.
Oh, that's it.
It's not.
No, okay.
So, are there any more comments on this third question? Any more discussion to be had this evening? If not, we'll move on. The ex officio trustee updates, starting with Butch Cato.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, before Trustee Cato gets going, based on his recommendation at your last meeting and the generosity of time commitment by Dr. Kelly Humphrey and Dr. Brady Hammond for coming over from the ACC, we wanted to give them this opportunity just to update us on the exploration research conversation that they've been doing around establishment of a BOCES, a Board of Cooperative Education Services in Albany County. And so with that, Trustee Cato, we'll turn it over to you unless you want to turn it over and punt it somewhere else.
We're going to try and team up. That's right. So,
Perfect.
Madam Chair, in fact, I think a lot of the trustees have a pretty good framework, or at least an understanding of BOCES. We talked about it a little bit, and we have some understanding. But I think what we learned, at least the three of us over in Albany County campus, is that we went to Natrona County, we went to Sweetwater County, and then we talked to the director of Sublette County. But in addition, Dr. Humphreys has compiled all the most of the information of the BOCES around the state of all the counties. And I think there's just, outside of Laramie and Albany County, is it Washakie and Niobrara? Is that right? Are the only counties that do not have a BOCES. And what I thought when we were talking about this several years ago was that BOCES was a fairly rigid statutory, that you have one partner that has to put in X amount, the other partner has to put in X amount, you have representation, so that, so forth. Well, we learned in our discussions with these different organizations that that's not the case, that BOCES has a lot of flexibility. You can structure just about any kind of program, any kind of partnership that you want around the state. And that's what the state has done. Pretty amazing. I mean, when we went to Natrona County, they're, in my mind, more of a traditional BOCES type entity, in which you have Casper Community College and you have Natrona County School District. They have 3 elected Natrona County School District trustees on the BOCES board and 3 from Casper College. So even split, 3 and 3. The college levies $500,000. The county levies $500,000. So they put $1 million in that raise about 1.2, 1.4 million a year for their BOCES. And it is primarily pays for dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, some scholarships, some innovation grants. They're doing some, robotics, I think, type things in Natrona County. We met with their board. It's been in existence since 1990. Pretty amazing what they're doing. Fairly traditional, just 2 entities, equal representation. As another example, when we talked to Sublette County, completely different structure. Sublette County has the good fortune in Wyoming to be one of the richest counties in Wyoming. They have lots of money. Their structure looks, they got 4 local board members of Sublette County and just 1 member from trustee from Western Wyoming Community College. Western does not put any money into our knowledge. They might be like $5,000 or $6,000, but very little financial commitment. Really driven by Sublette County School Board and their activities. In fact, most of the BOCES are driven locally. The community college seems to play an important part, but not the driver in a lot of these BOCES around the state. But with Sublette County having that representation, they fund a daycare center for their faculty, teachers, staff, so that none of those teachers have to worry about daycare services. You know, the quality is there, all the help is paid for by BOCES. So those teachers are taken care of in that regard. And then I think they have some kind of a backpack program in which the BOCES goes ahead and buys backpacks for either kindergartners, first graders, or maybe new people, new students to the district. And they load those backpacks up. It's named BOCES right across. They know where they got them from, who's funding them, what's going on. And then they put all kinds of good stuff that they need, school supplies, in these backpacks under the name of BOCES. And then they have these great summer camps. Then they go through additional summer camps, the traditional stuff of dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment. And then they take it one step further and they reach out into the community and they do all these community projects, all in the name of education, community enrichment type classes. And so if they want to bring in speaker series, authors, whatever the folks would like to see as a community educational enrichment type stuff, BOCES funds it. We'll bring them in. We'll pay for it. Pretty amazing stuff. I mean, and the difficult thing for me is that we don't have, Albany County and Laramie County does not have anything. And we could have something in Albany County where just that school district, Albany County School District, puts in $500,000, and LCCC not necessarily has to put up any money. Now, I'm not advocating that, but other structures around the state are doing that, for sure. And if we just want to pay for dual enrollment, anyway, but there are a lot of other details about these different cooperative education boards around the state are doing all kinds of stuff that in the name of education, and And most of it is driven by, as I said before, I hate to repeat myself, by a half mil levied by that school district. And the community colleges are not putting much money in. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, I'm just telling you how it's structured around the state. Teton County, for example, they use all their BOCES funds for the disabled, disabilities, learning kinds of things. That's how they put their program together. So there's that variation exists, but a lot more detail and statistics that maybe Dr. Humphries can talk about, and I know Brady also has some comments too, but I just think that we should do, just go away. Why aren't everybody else is doing it? It's almost like the bar is here, and we're not even doing the same thing that the rest of the state is doing with respect to these half mils.
Madam Chair, before you pass it on to your colleagues there, you're so energized. It's great. I mean, and you have done such a marvelous job of reviewing what's going on in this state with BOCES. One of my first assignments here was to be on the task force for BOCES with School District 1 and School District 2 here in Laramie County. And it has moved along very slowly. There's some effort that seems to be bringing some fruit in School District 2. Now we need to do something hopefully with School District 1. But it's been kind of waffling around and not getting anywhere. And your thought, not your thought, but your comment that the school district in Albany County, if they'd be willing to go with a $500,000 and the college doesn't put in a $500,000 because we can't, because we don't have the representation from Albany County on our board, that would be delightful to move forward. You realize that there have to be some representation from this board with the BOCES board there in Albany County. And it's like in Sublet, and Western has done a great job with a number of different counties where they have either 2 or 1. I think in Evanston, I think that they have 2 from Western Board of Trustees on the BOCES. And then you just identified in Sublet, it's 1. But gosh, I from my activity for the last 6 years in and out of the BOCES question, go for it. Go for it. It's really great to hear it.
Madam Chair, Trustee Hale. So when I first got to the ACC, I kept hearing people throw around the term.
Kelly, just because there's some new people, would you just introduce yourself and your job, please?
I'm Kelly Humphrey. I'm the Dean of Student and Academic Services at the Albany County campus.
Thanks, Kelly.
Good evening and thank you for having me. So when I first got here, people kept throwing around the term BOCES, and I did not know what a BOCES was. It seemed like the thing everybody wanted to try to implement, but I decided that, to ask some more questions, attended some advisory council meetings on our campus, and had some conversations with leadership in our school district. And really the information that I was told was that, yes, this is a great idea, but we really want to know what we would do with the BOCES. So we want to see some sort of plan before we throw in support from the school district perspective. So I got together with Associate Vice President Hammond, and we discussed the idea that we really should do some research and start meeting with people and interviewing people who had BOCES similar to the one we would like to implement in Albany County, and really determine how they went about doing that, how they are able to use their funds. So we met with 3 different directors, and every single one of those directors said that it was really a no-brainer. This is a win-win-win. Everybody's satisfied. They don't get a lot of critical feedback. We asked that question, did you get any pushback when you implemented it? And it was unanimous that this was a really, really positive thing for their communities. So we even had some of those directors offer to come to our county and share more about what they were doing in their counties so that we could start to use some of that information to compel our school district to participate with us in implementing something like this. So right now we're just at the phase where we're trying to figure out next steps and what that looks like.
That's me. Thank you, Dr. Humphrey. Thank you, Trustee Cable, Vice Chair. To echo everything we were talking about on the ride over, and I said the thing is, we said, a lot of people have a vision of what the BOCES is, and I said, I still feel like every day, even having worked on this for months at this point, I still get a new impression of what the BOCES is and can be. Because we're talking about half a mil, we have one that was levying, I think, 3/10 of a mil. So even the millage is up in the air. And really, what we noticed is that the reason and the question we specifically asked is, all right, you've been going for years, but do people ever question the fact that they're paying tax for this? And unanimously, they said no one has ever brought it up. And I know the big stumbling block we hear is, well, it's going to be a tax. And I think that really indicates all the issues that all three of us have stated, which is we initially thought of BOCES was this, and we have learned that it can be just about anything. And the reason they are so diverse is because Wyoming has such a diverse set of people in every single county. And to keep going back with Trustee Cato to the backpack issue, I mean, just the idea that we often view BOCES as this, well, they're about to get to the post-secondary level, so it probably focuses on that junior, senior. But we saw that BOCES is really focusing on that younger crowd, the primary level, because they realize that that's what the community needs. And I think as we move forward, the steps we're really looking at now is how to get people to see that the question is not a matter of, well, this is going to cost money, why is it worth it? But to show them that it's worth it because you can do with it what you want. And it's incumbent on, as Trustee Cato said, the school district, the school board, to really determine what are the needs. Because this is not LCCC coming and saying, you guys should do this. This is the school board, hopefully with the information we've been collecting, realizing that this is a decision that they are making for the students that they serve, the populations they serve. And whether it's Laramie County School District 1, 2, Albany County School District 1, it's about figuring out what are the needs of that population and how do we build that sort of educational mentality at every single age. So that it's not just a matter of, I want to get students through developmental to a credential, but I often hear the term K through credential. I really think beyond that secondary and post-secondary bridge and think from the very beginning, we want a population, kids that are like, you know what, I have my BOCES backpack. I already know that there is something there. And I said earlier, even the efforts we've been doing on Albany County campus, we realize there is sometimes a disconnect. Every kid at Laramie High School has to drive by our campus. And I said, I imagine most of them probably don't even know people are in there. It's just a building. So we went over recently and spoke to all the students that are enrolled in our classes. And we had a full house. And we just let them know, we are here. When you look at that building, these are the people inside, and we want you to succeed. And the BOCES gives the school board, I mean, we talked earlier about how does the board get involved? And this is an opportunity for the school district and the board here to really get involved in a way that it's not just the students at LCCC, but the students in the whole region, the whole county, whether we want to look at here or the service area in Albany County. It's a way to engage beyond that. And so our challenge now is really to figure out how do we present that to the school board, because as Trustee Cato said, they're the ones that have to drive this. We can give them all the information, but it is ultimately going to have to be their push, especially in Albany County because of the way the district is established. But how do we get them to see the value of this in a way that they can also communicate to the community? So when a school board member says, this is a great idea, the issue of tax is never even brought up because everyone knows you can see it. And every single BOCES has told us, and I said it was so funny when we were talking to the Sweetwater director, I said, do you have, really, I think we could talk all day long about this, but do you have any things, can we get students to say anything? And she about jumped out of her chair and said, do I? She got a poster, she got a thank you cards, she had all this ready to go because that is what it does. It brings the community to the education table in a way that, again, we can do, but our resources are strained as it is. And to really go beyond that and think creatively, to think, well, what could even $1,000 do? The backpack program, I want to say, was $3,000 annually. I mean, it's virtually nothing for such a tangible impact. So that is our next step, and I think that is really one of the reasons we wanted to share this tonight. And I know Trustee Cable and I have spoken extensively about all this, but really, how do we go forward, and not just in Albany County, but again, as Trustee Erickson was saying, how do we really make the entire service area of LCCC see the value of what we're talking about?
Excellent, thank you. Very exciting information. Any questions?
May I make a comment?
You certainly
I
may.
feel strongly about this also. I don't have the knowledge that the Albany County campus folks have, but I know that it's a good idea and that a lot of other places have it. And I've talked to people involved in them and they've told me how wonderful they are. Would it be possible as a first step to maybe schedule a time when members of this board, members of Laramie 1, members of Laramie 2 can get together and invite folks who have successful BOCES to come and speak with us? Like Casper's not that far away, right? Even just, places that aren't that far away, they could come and speak to us about how it's set up. And so, because I don't think we can really get passionate about something until we see the possibilities of what it could mean for us, and be able to address questions from our constituents and our citizens here in Laramie County. So that would be an idea I have. That means somebody has to put together that meeting. But tonight, that's what I would like to do.
Maybe we could include that in our retreat or something in that way.
And schedule something.
Right, so we would have an hour of time to talk about BOCES and maybe have some other folks come and meet with us and explain it. But honestly, I think you guys have done an amazing job and have a lot of enthusiasm and have already interviewed other counties.
But I think we need to do something to move it forward,
And I think too, Madam Chair, that we would like, as Dr. Hammer was saying, we would really like to take it to that next step, and that is to start to really strategize how to bring that message very clearly, very forcefully to the Albany County School District Board.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a strategy like what this community college is used to doing in terms of bond elections and everything else, then that's the kind of strategy we're going to put together. It just seems like it's too important not to be very convincing, very, very prepared to get this message across and get this done.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take a special election,
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it's driven locally, and there are some needs, and it's a matter of hopefully sitting down with that board and determining what the needs are. From our perspective, it would be nice to get some dual enrollment, I think, dollar reimbursement coming back to the college, because we're fronting all that, if I'm not mistaken, from that standpoint. And maybe that's part of maybe their interest at the Albany County School District not being so anxious to do something, because we're picking up the bill on some of that dual enrollment stuff. But we just need to go to work on getting them lobbied and get this thing done. It just is too important not to do. Sooner the better. That's where we're at.
So, Madam Chair, may I ask a question? Butch and Brady and Kelly, what is your suggestion? What would you like us to do? First steps in moving toward creating something like this.
Well, I don't know if we need a motion or an understanding in the minutes that the Albany County campus group is going to push for the message about BOCES with the Albany County School District. And the district, I think, is what holds the key to this. And I know President Schaefer has already made one presentation to him. And maybe we didn't do a follow-up enough, but anyway, we just need to really hit them with everything that we can about the informational program. So again, I don't know if the trustees need to give us some of that push a little bit, because we'd like to actively, I don't know how else to say it, just politic, lobby, talk to those board members about this program and get them on board about what we can do.
Madam Chair, I would think that it would be appropriate for us to officially indicate that we support the effort of the Albany County campus to move forward with development of OCs. So it's not only the support, but stress the continuance to move that forward.
Is that a recommendation?
I'm making that as a motion.
A motion?
Yeah.
A second? Jess has made a second. Dr. Schaefer, I'd like to hear your take on this. Please help us out a little bit.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I don't know how much I can help. As you recall, the exploration, ultimate establishment of a BOCES or BOCHES was actually a part of and is a part of our strategic plan. So you have that long history, so I keep looking at you, that history, Trustee, with having those
I let my hair grow long to show the wisdom that's in.
So we know the challenges here. It certainly have had a lot of conversations that led up to a presentation to the Albany County School District Board. Here, a couple of things that we've learned. Well, first, absolutely, I have no problem with you approving this motion and continuing. I applaud Trustee Cato and Brady and Kelly and everybody else for taking the work, advancing the conversation, and really looking at that. The two things that we continue to run into as our biggest challenges is certainly the willingness for sitting trustees, school board trustees, and perhaps here, to exercise their authority to pass a permissive levy to when they establish a BOCES. We heard that loud and clear in Laramie District 2 and could not even really get it off in Laramie District 1. Did not think it was there in Laramie until that presentation to the board where Albany County expressed concerns about passing that taxation. The bigger challenge, though, continues to be the why, and that is what are we trying to accomplish? The vast majority of the BOCES and BOCHES that exist in Wyoming started because there was an identified community need that they did not have funding for. In Campbell County, for example, it was funding continued growth in their technical CTE education, specifically between Gillette College and the school districts. Who's going to fund this equipment? How do we pay for the advanced machinery? All of those types of things really, grew that. In Riverton, it was really the expansion of concurrent enrollment opportunities to the school districts they serve. We need to find that need and that why, and specifically in Laramie and for Albany County, and make that the first push over the BOCES. And so the reason that's been a challenge for us is we've been footing the bill for it forever. So right now we have almost $400,000 between contracted services, tuition reimbursement, and operating expenses that basically help support concurrent enrollment courses that go to the schools. Well, when people see, well, we're already getting it, but it's the saying, why buy the cow when you get the milk for free, or vice versa? It's been a challenge because they see, well, you're already doing it. Expand automotive technology at Laramie High School. We invested $80,000 to expand that program there. We responded and they say, well, where's the need? We're getting what we want. We've got to create the urgency around the need. And maybe that's your formal position that over time we are going to pull away from funding those activities through general fund to create that need. Or to say we will no longer continue to escalate that because we simply can't from the financial position we're in. So growth in dual, concurrent, whatever else we're doing really has to come through a partnership with the school districts. But that need, we have to find a way to articulate. So the messaging from my point isn't what's a BOCES and why is it important. My messaging is here's the things we could be offering to our students, our youth, that every other county but two in the state are providing, and we're not doing that. we need to do that. How do we do it? It so happens a BOCES is probably one of the best ways, both from a direction, design, and a funding mechanism. So I'm all in. Again, I applaud what they're doing, and I think Albany County is probably the place we get our first win here. So I think you approve your motion, and then we provide what resources we can to continue to advance that conversation that these continue to be needs and opportunities in Albany County. We cannot continue just to cover the cost of that. So somewhere we have to have another approach, and BOCES makes the most sense.
Thank you so much. Any other
Madam
questions?
Chair, may I ask?
Oh, yeah. Howard.
So along those lines, when we went to Central Wyoming BOCES in Natrona County, we discussed with them, because their BOCES covers all of their dual concurrent enrollment, and that allows their students in their district in high school to take, I think it was up to 6 credits per semester, including summer, and it extended that opportunity to, they were beginning to extend that opportunity to freshmen and sophomores in high school as well. And I think that could be a compelling argument. So their BOCES pays for textbooks, they pay for student fees, and the BOCES pays for tuition. So I think that we could, especially as we look at starting new academic programs such as culinary arts and things like that, try to balance out that relationship a little bit more and make some suggestions for some career paths that students could take and some ways that they could really fast track their education. Right now, students in our county only can take 1 free course a semester their junior and senior year. So just wanted to add that.
And Madam Chair, Trustees, we are obligated to provide that by statute. The statute dealing with post-secondary education opportunities specifically says most other communities with the BOCES offer 2 and 3 times that than what we're able to. So anything above that right now, we have to provide that and we're doing it on our expense, but anything above that comes out of our own budgets.
Brady.
Chair, to again emphasize the versatility, was it Sweetwater or Sublet that then if a student had exhausted all other sort of scholarship options, the BOCES then provided an additional scholarship opportunity? Sweetwater. And it was effectively, again, if you can't get money in some way, then it just shows again the versatility that if you identify that you have students that are losing out for some reason on funding, well, one more opportunity. Again, it was just that spectrum of options that really impressed all of us.
Any high school student in Rock Springs, Green River, they want to go to Western, they would apply for the normal grants, both federal and state. If there's still gaps left over, they will pay for it 100%. So any of those high school kids can go to Western, get their 2 years at no cost. BOCES. And there was, what, Western only put in, how much they levied? 3/10 was it? Of a mil. That was their participation. But that both, I think Sweetwater then as a whole, there's 2 school districts in Sweetwater. They levied a mil levy of 0.5 mil. But that's what they're doing there, and it's just, so those kids can go to school.
Exciting stuff.
So you guys gonna run for the school board?
That's a good point.
Well, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody disagree? It passes unanimously. Thank you. And now, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, I don't have another comment on what we just been talking about, but I do have a question to Dr. Joe in regard to the Albany County campus, and that is, what's the status of the expansion effort over there?
Madam Chair, Trustee Erickson, maybe Vice President Johnson can help me out. We are still moving forward, planning on getting bids for the expansion out here during the bidding season. We call it the winter season, with a plan to have construction starting with the nice weather in the spring, and I believe to have it completed by next fall. So the same timeline we are under, we just had to kick it down the road a year. Is that pretty close, Rick?
Yeah, adding to that, we'll go to bid in November. You think there's a sweet spot in there perhaps to take advantage of with pricing? We break ground in mid-May, somewhere in there, and yet to be kind of worked out. it'd be complete by the end of August. That's the vision.
Thank you.
Okay. Derek, I am sorry that you are so far down on this agenda and thinking that maybe the next meeting we put you at the very beginning. So you don't have to eat your way through the whole board meeting. So Derek, you're on. Thank you.
I spent the first half of the board meeting. Well, as far as the Board for Student Government goes, our Senate met yesterday, and I'm pleased to see that we have a very active Senate this year. We had a few guests talking to us for some upcoming opportunities to be moderators for some political events that would really help us in our own town hall meetings and being moderators in other situations. And I found that 3 or 4 of my new senators, of the 4 that showed up, were very active in the conversation, which I haven't seen before, and I was really excited for. So it looks like we've got a strong Senate coming into this year. And so I thought about sharing my tentative goals for the year, but seeing how strong my Senate is, I'm not sure my goals will last. You never know. And aside from that, we'll be doing our parliamentary procedure training tomorrow, and I don't believe we have anything more to report at this time, being that we met last week.
Okay. And did you fill all your slots with SGA members?
We are still looking for 2 arts and humanities students, 1 math and sciences student, and 1 business, agriculture, and technical studies student. And the elections will now be switched over to our executive interview elections.
Thank you. Okay, I'm glad you're here.
May I, Madam Vice Chair, may I ask a question? Sure. Derek, is there anything that this board can do as far as relationship or communication when you guys have like some of your beginning meetings? Do you ever hear anybody say, I wish we could have a board trustee come and join us, or what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure I've ever had senators early in the board of trustees existed.
Yeah.
There you go.
They
There
knew
you
that
go.
it was a thing, like they'd seen it at their school where it said board of trustees, they just didn't know what the board of trustees was. But I think it would be interesting to board trustees to review some of our meetings. Not quite yet. This first week or 2 we'll be covering standard protocol and meetings and getting some of the business flushed out because we're 6 weeks in and we're just starting our first meetings. But later this month or earlier next month, I feel that we could bring the trustees with the valuable pages.
When we have our next board of trustees meeting, would you tell us when you're meeting and let us know if you would like 1 or 2 of us to come? I think it'd be good for the student government to know that we exist and what we do, and vice versa. So
I can do that.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you. Yeah, I might not have heard when your meetings are generally.
Tuesday, Thursdays from 12:30 to 1:20 to allow students time to get from their classes that end at 12:15 and to get to their 1:30 classes.
Okay. Perfect. Maybe what you could do is to let Vicki know when those meetings are, and then some of us might be able to come when you're ready for it. Thank you. So new business. The only thing that I have to bring to you as new business is you got this game schedule in front of you, and soccer is in full swing, as is women's volleyball, and those games are quite exciting. So if you can come out and show our team that we are supporting them, that would be great. Then we have additional items.
Under new business, can I just
Oh,
make
yes, sir.
Under new
New
business.
business.
Under new business, I have a heads up. Trustee Salazar and I are your delegates to the Wyoming Association of Community College Trustees. The board of that organization, which we are part of, there are 7 colleges, so there's 14 individuals that are on the board. And there's going to be a bylaw change coming up before the board at the next meeting, which is essentially the timing of the delegate election to the board. to the trustee board. In the past, every year in December, we have been electing our delegates to that board. The WAC board has felt that it would be good for maybe some continuity of the trustees if we had that as a 2-year term rather than a 1-year term. And therefore, that it would be done at the time we have a general election. And that therefore we'll have an opportunity for all the new trustees that come on that WAC board to get oriented with the Wyoming Community College Commission in February when we have our February Education Day here on our campus. So this is just an alert that there will be a bylaw change to that effect.
Good, that's good.
Thank you, John. Any other new business? If not, we have the historical list of board motions, and then Dr. Schaefer would like to talk about this special award.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the board, you actually have a few things in your additional items. You have letters from Senator Enzi and Senator Barrasso congratulating you and the college on a wonderful 50 years and the 50th anniversary celebration and to 50 and so more. So I thought you'd like to see those letters. The other thing that Dr. Hammond shared with me that he received just last night, I believe, at the city council. As you know, there's a lot of activities going on in Laramie right now, and many of those are circling around the Matthew Shepard Memorial event and activities. And Dr. Hammond has been involved in helping with that planning on behalf of Laramie County Community College, actually having the LCCC with a presence in the planning efforts. And the mayor delivered to him a signed proclamation really memorializing or recognizing the collaboration in all the events around the Matthew Shepard Memorial. And I wanted to make sure I commented on that and entered it into the record for the minutes that we've received it from Mayor Somerville. So thank you, Brady, for bringing this over and for helping plan the activities over there.
Maybe we could pass it around the room so that others could see it. Thank you, Dr. Schaefer. Our next meeting is November 7th at the usual time, usual place. Is there any public comment? Would anyone like to comment from the public? I don't think there's any public here, but okay. Is there a motion for adjournment? Also moved. Wendy, you move.
Second.
And Jess seconds adjournment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting